Hey everyone, welcome back to the Law of Attraction Tribe. Today I have Barbara Banner, who is a certified psychic, trance, and evidential medium with Helping Parents Heal and Certified Mediums by Mark Ireland. She came into this work later in life during the pandemic after some dramatic supernatural nudges got up close and personal. She later found out from numerous channelers that she's been doing this for centuries. And then her 104-year-old mother confessed that Grandma Anna had the juju also. Barbara's known for bringing joy and light to grieving families with sessions that are as spiritually powerful as they are unexpectedly hilarious. She truly believes laughter is one of the most profound healers. I agree with that 100%. And she's got the studies to back it up. She's also a treasure trove of you can't make this stuff up moments from sessions that still leave her and her clients in awe and stitches. Her unique delivery of evidence brings her intense passion and calming energy to light. No wonder she received over 350,000 views in the first 30 days on a recent podcast. Wow. Barbara, welcome to the show.
So glad to be here.
I cannot wait for this. I have been fascinated with mediums my whole life, ever since I was a teenager and my mom gave me a Sylvia Browne book, and I was just hooked from that point on. So tell
Me
me,
too. Me
you
too.
too?
Sylvia
Okay.
Browne was the first person I watched, and I was like, I even have a book of hers that I didn't even know I bought it when I was a teenager. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. I read it and it was like after that, I was just like, okay, like I 100% believe, I know this is real. And it just, I don't know, it just opened me up to all of this possibility and hope and just amazing. That was my introduction to it. So my mom is very into all of this as well. So I want to hear your story. Like what happened? What were these supernatural nudges
Well,
that you got?
um, it was during the pandemic, just the pandemic had started, and I had some things flying off a wall, like a clock. I had orbs in a video I had just taped. I didn't see them when I was doing it, but when I went to look at it again, there was orbs flying everywhere, willy-nilly. The fan in the den and the bedroom were simultaneously going like a helicopter, it was so fast, and blinking the fan light, except the fan light in our bedroom didn't have a bulb. So
Wow.
I said, okay, John, my husband, Spirit is calling me. I must answer. If they can do that, I'm going to be on the good side. So I
Yeah, they
took
were
a
pretty
class.
loud.
Yeah. Well, if I've been doing this, I didn't know I was doing this for centuries until I talked to my mom. So it just made more sense. Um, because when I started, I didn't even meditate. I didn't even know how to meditate. And on the first practice at home, I saw my dad
Oh, wow.
peeking over like a little half wall. I locked myself in the closet and turned off the lights because my husband didn't know what I was doing. So, yeah, I saw my dad, and I just thought, this is easy. I like this.
Oh my gosh. So once you started tapping into these abilities, do you ever look back at your childhood and think of things that maybe were signs, or did it just like this was fresh and new later in life and you just didn't really tap into it at any other point?
I had a 35-year sign that I believe was absolutely, I was divinely guided to do this. I spent 14 years volunteering on a women's crisis hotline, okay? And you had to go through so much training and everything to do it. Then I've been at Cedars-Sinai Hospital ER. That was for my adrenaline rush. And then I spent years on the city's crisis response team where I was called out when there was a dead body on the scene and the police or the fire department was there and the coroner and the family came to the scene. So I
Mm.
was in charge with another person to take care of the family. So we had unbelievable, a whole summer of training on that with every kind of passing and every kind of, it was amazing. And even if I didn't do this, all of that training like changed my life. So yeah, it was, I didn't think of it at the time. My friends would say, "Why are you doing that? Why do you want to go to a scene where there's a body?" I said, "Because I can." That's the only thing I could say. I could do it.
Wow.
So
Okay, so let me ask you this, like knowing everything that you know now about, after we die and everything, do we have like a soul contract where
yeah,
maybe like that was all part of the plan to prepare you for this, becoming a medium so you would be able to connect with, I know you work with like grieving parents and
yeah, helping.
so it just
Yeah.
sounds like all that training really helped you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I didn't know it at the time, but boy, looking back, it was just so evident that that's what I was supposed to do. And since they said I was doing it in other lifetimes, I guess they thought it was time to take me out of the mothballs. Okay, let's dust her off, and we need her now. 2020, it's time to awake people and let them help. So yeah, shook myself off and said, okay, let's
Yeah.
bring it on.
So when you told your mom and she said it was your grandmother that had some spiritual insights, or was she a medium as
Well,
well? And was this like
no,
a
no, no,
secret or
no. I just said, Mom, I have to tell you something. I didn't know how you'd take it because they didn't talk about that then. And I said, I'm a medium now, and I didn't know if you could, take it. She said, your grandmother was dragging me around to fortune tellers, tarot readers, tea leaf readers when I was a kid. She had some juju, and people would line up to get her information, to her intuition. So she goes, yeah. She goes, so what did Dad say? So she wasn't surprised. She didn't even flinch. It was like, I am not surprised. I said, oh,
yeah.
you're 104. When were you going to tell me?
Right. Wow.
She wasn't. A couple hundred years ago, we were burned at the stake. So nobody was really talking. Hey,
Yeah. Yep. It's very, backdoor, like we're not going to talk about this or
they'll
share it
think you're
openly with
crazy.
anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just read this book by Mark Gober. It's called The End of Upside Down Thinking. And it's really all about consciousness. And he's using all this scientific evidence to prove that consciousness doesn't come from the brain. It's outside of us, and our brain is like a receiver or a filter for consciousness. And if you can learn to like shut off the logical racing thought part of the brain, it's almost like you're weakening the filter so more can come through. So now I'm curious, like with you as a medium, how does that
I
make
totally
sense? Like, do
agree.
you go into a trance, a meditation?
I do a meditation, before I start, just to sort of clear. But the worst thing I can do is let my mind get involved. My mind has nothing to do with the readings. And if it does, it's not going to be right. So I just try to put it aside and listen. Now, in psychic, you're completely, conscious and aware of everything you're saying or picking up. In evidential mediumship, you are as well. I mean, like I'm having a conversation in my head with spirit. But in trance, which ends up being the most exciting part of when I do a trance part of a session, um, I'm in an altered state. I don't remember what I say. Things can jog my memory, but it's like I went out for a cup of coffee, do your thing, grandma, and I'll be back in, 6 minutes. Yeah.
Wow. So do they come into your body with a trance, or it's just a different way that you're
It's
bringing it?
well, yes and no. I've felt them sort of like come in, and because they move me, they could
Oh,
I
wow.
tell clients, I said, if I bust into a twerk or something, please don't call 911. It is not medical emergency because they've done things like that,
Oh,
just
that's
as part
funny.
of the evidence. So I totally believe that the most get out of your head is the way to connect.
Yeah. So how does it come through for you? Like, do you see a visual or is it just like
I
thoughts in your
see,
mind?
I feel, I hear, I can, speak the words when I don't know what I'm doing. And and they move me sometimes.
Wow.
So I get it all. I don't get the smells. I got pot roast once. Some people can smell, and I thought,
Yeah.
okay, this must be grandma because nobody's making pot roast around here.
Yeah.
And I got a really sweet scent the other day, but I found out I was listening to a podcast that that's what angels do. They'll give you a few seconds of this very sweet scent, and that's like a little angel wink. So I am
Oh,
just now
interesting.
studying more about angels, so I understand that. So yeah, I
Oh,
thought that's
very
nice
cool.
perfume. Where did you get it? It was
Yeah.
great.
That's cool that it comes through in so many different ways because sometimes it might just be one way for someone. So, um,
A lot of people just have a knowing. They just
mhm,
know. And
mhm,
that's like intuition. And intuition comes through spirit. That's why people should trust their intuition. And they don't. They think,
yeah,
I thought I should go that way today, on the way home, and you get an nudge
mhm,
to take that other road, and you do it, and then you find out there was a oil tanker that flipped over on the road you always go home on. So I just say, follow your intuition because that's them giving you messages.
yeah. No, that is such good advice. And that book that I was reading, I mean, he was making a case for the fact that we all can tap into these things through our
Everybody,
intuition, but we're societally sort of programmed to not trust it. Trust,
not we
like the
don't trust
authority,
it.
don't trust your own intuition. And you're right. I mean, it can come through and it could not make sense logically, but you
Doesn't
still
matter.
have to trust it. Because like you said, it
Oh
could be
yeah.
leading you away from danger.
Yeah. I've had so many readings that, that they gave me a message. I thought, I can't say this. That's ridiculous. And I just have to do it. And it's all accurate.
Wow.
Because I can't make this stuff up. I don't have I'm not that creative.
So,
Um,
so when you say like in your bio it said something about you bring humor into it. Is spirit just have a good sense of humor? Like how does that
my
come into
guides
play?
do. You get
Okay.
guides who understand your essence. If you're
Okay.
serious or you speak flowery or they work with you so that you can do your best. I do everything fast, okay? And my trance mentor says, you come in and out of a trance in like 2 seconds. It takes me 15 minutes to like get out of it. I said, my guides know I am like, let's go. Let's not waste time. So I'm in and I'm out. That's how they work with us. That's that's why I got those guides.
Okay. So how many guides do you have? Like how
Well,
did they all kind of come forward at the same
you have
time?
different guides. You have some that are absolutely always there. Like I have my mediumship guide and my head guide, but others come in and out, and there's always lots of angels in the background. But I had a monk, and I don't know if it was for uh, it was for spirituality or I don't know what it was for, but I had a medical guide who was like a shaman, and
Mhm.
I was a American Indian at one point in my life. That's why I was number one archer at my high school. Didn't know how I was doing it, just best archer in high school. I never picked up a bow and arrow before, and all of a sudden,
You just knew what to do.
I'm Annie Oakley. Okay, I just knew what to do.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so what are some of the stories? Do you have like favorite stories
I
of
do. I
helping
do.
people connect or certain spirits that came
I
through?
have just messages that came through that were like just crazy. I had a this is one of my favorites. I had a very skeptical woman whose husband had just passed. And everything I said, and I knew I had him. I mean, he even showed me the actor on the show House, who he looked like. Okay. So I had him, and everything was, well, that's too broad. Well, you could have read that in the paper. Well, there was a TV, and it just, I'm trying to keep the vibration up so it's a clear. Anyway, I had to cut it short because it was really it wasn't fruitful, and I
Yeah.
couldn't. And she wanted to know what color outfits they were wearing 3 days before he passed. Okay, we don't play those kind of things. Anyway, 2 days later, at 3 in the morning, her husband wakes me up, and shows me a half a toasted bagel, scooped out. And so the next day I contacted her and I told her what he brought me. And she goes, "That's ridiculous. That doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care. That's nothing." At the end of the week, she got in touch with me. She goes, "You're not going to believe this." She said, I went to my in-laws' house, my husband's parents, and my father-in-law said, "I just invented a product and I have a prototype and I'm going to show you and see if you know what it is." And she looks at this contraption and she said, "I don't have any idea." She was a little nasty. "I don't have any idea what this is." He said, "It's a bagel scooper."
Oh, wow.
So she said we were all crying and laughing and screaming, knowing he was there. He's the one who he knows everything about us, where I'm going to be when I see it and hear it, and that now she's like total believer and she's getting signs everywhere. But someone's got to sort of break the ice so that they understand, hey, there's something to that. How could she possibly know? That was not in the newspaper. What made me interested in helping children heal is I had a woman who lost a 6-year-old son. And I think it was like one of the first people that I did that had a young child pass. And in my readings, I say, I do a Q&A period, and I say, I'm hijacking the first one. I want you to think of a question that sort of fits in this box, but don't tell me the question. I'm just going to tell you what spirit shows me. So she telepathically asks a question, and I said, okay, I'll tell you what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a little boy riding on the back of a giant butterfly in heaven. Okay, just dive bombing, having the best time. And she's crying now. And I said, "Does that make any sense to the question you asked?" Because I don't know what she was thinking. She said, "So much." She said, "I asked, what is my son doing in heaven?" Now, that's not the end of it. She said, then she sends me a picture. She said, "When he passed, I bought a book about how to tell children, because he has a younger sister, about death for children, so I could
Mhm.
do it right." And she said, and in this book was a page of things that kids could be doing in heaven. And she said the picture was of a little boy riding on the back of a butterfly in heaven. That
Oh,
changed her.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah, me too. That's the
Wow.
kind of thing you can bring that, and not every piece of evidence is an oh my God thing. You get what they give you. They give you what you need to know now, not
Yeah.
always what you want to know. So
Mhm.
if you're looking for the lotto numbers, don't
Yeah.
call me. Um,
Right.
there's, yeah, I have so many things and really funny ones too.
Yeah. What is there something, a funny story?
Well, this is a funny story because if this proves if you don't believe, you won't receive. I
Yeah.
had a man like, in his 20s that I think passed from drugs or something. And his mother, I said, "Just think it in your head. Don't ask, just don't tell me." And then I said, "Oh my gosh, I see your son like squished into a glass jar, like really sort of, freaky kind of thing. And his whole body's in a glass jar. It's like something a mad scientist would put on a shelf." And I said, "Does that have anything to do with your question?" And she said, "No, not at all. I don't know what you're talking about." And I said, "Okay, this was so specific." I said, "Tell me the question." She goes, "Well, he passed before he could go to this rock concert with us because it was his favorite band. And she said, and I brought to the venue a jar with his ashes in it.
Oh,
And
wow.
I wanted to, and I spread them out. And my question was, were you, did you see the concert with us? And I said, hold it. You don't see a connection with your son, who was very creative and funny, stuffing himself into a glass jar. And then you having to actually bring a glass jar with your son
Right.
in it to the venue. And she thought for a second. She goes, "Oh my God, I oh so he was there." But some things can go straight over if you're not open to what if. Why would my son be showing me that? Showing me himself in a jar.
Yeah. Well, it's just like the lady with the bagel and how after she had that moment where it's like you had to prove it to her, basically, she says she's seeing signs all of a sudden, but she
Oh, yeah,
probably was
because she's
getting
open.
signs, but just
She
wasn't
was.
seeing them.
She even got her social security number with him there. I mean, in another way, but she was so resistant, and it makes it
Yeah.
really difficult to
Well, that
do that.
has to be hard on you. I feel like mediums get just a ridiculous amount of skepticism. And I'm sure that has to be hard to overcome that because you were saying you try to be in this high
It's all
vibrational
about
state.
energy. You've got to have
Hmm.
three, I was taught you have three legs on a stool:
Hmm.
spirit, medium, and client. And they all have to be working perfectly to get a
Right.
really good reading.
Yeah.
And we're not supposed to blame a client,
Yeah.
but we can't not feel the energy. We're very sensitive.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not ready, um, or maybe they're just waiting for us to give them this oh my God moment before they will be. But it has to be, the energy has to be right for
Yeah.
that to happen. So sometimes, maybe you're not ready, or one of my clients came to a session and it looked like she just rolled out of bed and she was like so like depressed. I said, "Look, I can't read you." I said, "If you want this, you're going to have to get up and do 10 jumping jacks." So she did. And she said, "I needed that." And it was a great reading, but I couldn't work with.
Yeah, no, that's great. It helps them get out of their mind and into their body too.
Absolutely.
I've noticed that with myself. Like, if I am wrestling with something in my mind or I have a question, if I go for a walk outside and I'm moving my body, it's like by the end of that walk, I will have an answer. But I have to remind myself sometimes. It's like we get so caught up in our routines and in all the mental chatter that sometimes the best thing you can do is like get out of your head, stop thinking, and just move your body.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. And but spirit keeps the essence of the person that you the want. They don't change their essence. We have a soul contract, and we're down here to be mean to a wife because she agreed on that because she needs to learn this lesson of standing up for herself. You don't really know why she's got this lesson or why he has to do it, but they're just playing a role. That's not who they are. And
Mm.
when we do a reading, it's not like they're still angry and throwing things, across the room. It's that they're recreating their role for us, so we know who it is.
Oh, okay.
And so it's not that they're this, they come to say they're sorry and tell people not to be guilty about a suicide. And sometimes they just say things like that are okay. I had a woman whose son passed, and later on he had some physical challenges. Anyway, said, "I see your son driving a little car, on the other side." And he's saying, "You got to wait a second. I got to drop off this person on the moon, and then I got to go pick somebody up on Saturn." And I thought, "What do you have any idea what that means?" She said, "My son was like challenged, so he was an Uber driver, and then he started to get he started to have some neurological problems and they took away his license. So I'm so happy he's doing
Oh,
something he loves on the other side because he's okay. So those kind of things, I just got goosebumps, are like
yeah.
so lovely because he's letting her know, yeah, I couldn't do it afterwards, but I can do it now.
Yeah. Well, and it's great that you're bringing it through as they're showing it to you, because I could imagine sometimes you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. Should I say that? But
I
it's
don't
like
do
it,
that anymore. I don't do
oh, yeah.
because it always surprises me. I had a grandmother in spirit and their granddaughter, and the grandmother says, "If you want more money, go do phone sex." And it came out of my mouth, and I said, I didn't say that. I don't know how that happened. I'm sorry. And the girl's cracking up. She goes, that has been a running joke with me and my husband for like years after we bought the house. You want another chair? You better go do some phone sex. She said, and we just were laughing about it last night. So
Oh,
obviously,
wow.
grandma was here, and it's just like her to bring that up.
Yeah, like an inside
Never
joke.
know.
Yeah.
It
Just say it, because
just
no
say it.
matter how crazy it sounds, that could be the very thing that they need to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what has this taught you that you share, like especially with, grieving families, about death and the afterlife? Do you have any new insights that maybe you didn't have before
Well, I
connecting
didn't
with
have any
these?
insights before. I mean,
Mhm.
when I was 13, I said to my friends, I think I'm a witch. I didn't know, but I had a lot of intuition or little
Hmm.
psychic things. Um, that depending how far they are in their stage, if their loved one's been gone for, 5 years and they've had a lot of readings, then I'm sure they've read a million books. Just that we don't really know why they were the way they were or why they passed when they did um, in this lifetime. But as soon as we cross over, you'll know why you had to lose your son at 6. And you'll know how that helped you in your soul expansion.
Hmm.
And it's impossible to know now. Well, unless they're psychic or something. But you don't know until you get there. And then you'll know what your soul contract was and why. We're trying to work off karma. We're trying to learn lessons, about standing up for yourself or how strong we are or charity to others. There's a million things to be a good person. And
Hmm.
that's when you stop having to come back, when you've
Hmm.
passed all the tests and you've learned your lesson. And her son probably was a very old soul. I mean, we change our gender or roles,
Hmm.
um, and he just did it for you. So that's
Oh,
why he left. He's good. He just came back so he could teach you a lesson, and that's why he was ready to go at 6.
yeah.
So, but it doesn't. You can't take the grief away from somebody. But
Yeah.
I always say I can't bring them back, but I can bring them closer because I try to give them ways to contact them or to feel closer themselves. And at the end of a reading, I do a little exercise with them so that they can try on their own. And I also give them a resource sheet when they book for things they can do and meditations they can listen to that are special for bringing your own loved one close.
Could you share one of those?
I
Um,
will. You want me to do my little? This is a really short exercise, but it's really
sure.
fun.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I am going to count to 3, and you and your viewers are going to tell me the very first thing that comes into your mind. One, two, three. What is it? What item came just into your mind? Just say it.
A flower.
Oh, okay. Any kind of flower, just a flower.
It's a pink orchid. I think it's an orchid. I mean, I see it in my mind's eye.
Okay, a
Pink.
pink flower.
Yeah.
All right. This week, hopefully, it can come a little later. You're going to see a representation of a pink flower. Um, doesn't have to be exact, but you'll know it's from uh, your loved one of your loved ones on the other side. Maybe you were talking to one today. And you will know because he or she put that into your head and they know exactly when and where you're going to see it. Now, if you change it, if like a tuna fish can was first and then you just changed it, it's not going to work.
Hmm.
It's the very first thing. And if you wait 3 seconds, your critical mind jumps in and puts something in there.
Right.
Okay, so this is boom. What is it? So let me show you a few things that people got. A podcast host did it with me. And she said, I got an elephant. And she said, where am I going to see an elephant? Because it doesn't count if you go to the zoo and see an
Right.
elephant. It has to be something that you're not expecting. So she sends me this 2 days later. She says, I took my son to a new mini golf place. And on one of the things, there was a giant elephant. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah,
And
very
it's the
in your
kind
face.
in your face. And I asked another woman, and she said, a wrench. So she sends me a picture of a few days later, she sends me a picture of her husband. She wanted to send me a picture of her husband. She said, on the picture, it was from my Google Pictures. There was like a Google band at the bottom. She said, blow up the G.
Oh, there's a wrench.
Have you ever seen that in a Google logo?
Never.
Never,
Wow.
never. Um, this is just a fun one. I have an Italian client and she's very funny. And hers is a heart. She gets a million hearts. But this one, she said she stuck her fork into a bowl of pasta and look what came out. A heart
And who would
shaped.
ever think in pasta, right?
No, this is rectangular pasta. This
Wow.
had to go into contortions. I'd have to cut it out with scissors and try to glue it together. That was like that. Um, And she also got this, which was really cute. Cereal bowl,
Oh,
one little
yeah.
heart in it. I mean, come on, you can't get that. And one more, which was pretty amazing too. A woman said a butterfly. There's milk, but she
Right.
said, "I'm not going to see a butterfly." She said, "It's snowing out there." So 2 days later, she says, "You're not going to believe this." I walked into a client's, hospice room, and she was covered in a butterfly blanket. This is just
Oh,
representation
wow.
with 1,000 butterflies on it.
Yeah.
Spirit is intelligent and they're fun and they just know what to do. And just if you trust them, you're going to be as I'm as excited in a reading of something coming through as the client is
Yeah. Well, yeah, it sounds like you get surprised all the time as well.
all the
It's like
time.
it doesn't make sense to you, but as soon as you tell them, or even a few days later, it hits them, which that's happened to me a few
Oh
times
yeah,
where I'll
it's
get a
not
reading
always
and
yeah.
days later I'm like, oh, wait, it's all clicking now. It makes sense, you know?
Exactly. Because, we're throwing things at them quickly, like spaghetti on the wall, what's going to stick? And they just don't think about it until later. In my notice as instructions on what to do and what to expect in a reading, I say, please don't ask me your please don't ask me your nickname when you were three, things
Yeah.
like that. Okay.
Right.
So in a reading, this woman comes forward and she goes, boo. And it was her mother. I said, does that make any sense to you? She goes, no, my mother wouldn't. She wasn't mean like that. She wouldn't do that. Um, anyway, 2 days later, she calls me. She goes, I was watching this with my sister. And she said, boo. She said, don't you know what boo is? Why she did that? She goes, oh, that was her nickname when she was like 3 years old. So the mother gave us the nickname without in her own indomitable way and told her nickname. That
Oh,
was her nickname.
wow. Yeah. This, I guess it's been a few years now, but I was watching a show and it had to do with mediums. And in the show, they said, you can think of a sign, like very specific, kind of like what you were doing, but what came to your mind of a sign you want them to show you. And my husband and I were sitting there, and I said, let's think of a sign for your mom because his mom had passed away. And I was like, disco ball, because she was like, I used to call her the disco queen. And this was before this whole disco ball trend started with parties and
Right.
everything. And I was thinking, well, where the heck am I going to see a disco ball? Maybe I should make it an easier sign and, maybe I should do like a butterfly or
No, the
something. But
disco ball was put in your head. So,
yeah, so I'm like, I have that in my head and a few days go by and I was going to this photo shoot thing in a place I had never been before. It was in this house. And as I'm walking up to the house, I'm like blinded. It's this bright light. And I'm like, oh my God, because it was a sunny day out. And I get closer. I'm like, what is that? On their front porch of this house was a disco ball. And the way
wow.
the light was hitting it, it was like blinding me. Like, you can't ignore it. It's right here, which was just, I mean, she was kind of the type of person that's just very like boisterous and stuff. And I'm like, that would be her, like making it so in my face, I can't ignore it.
Exactly. I would prefer um, if somebody has like something they want to see or hear, not to tell me because it puts
Yeah.
pressure on. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
And so many times I'll say something. They said that was my code thing that I wanted to do. Some girl I have a woman who lost her husband. It was so sad. And we have this wonderful reading. And I've already done the exercise and we're ready to close. And I said, "Oh, your husband wants to mention a necklace." And she starts crying. She said, "Oh my God." She said, "I told my husband, if it's really you, please mention the necklace." Now, I couldn't see it. Okay. She had like a turtleneck on
Uh-huh.
and she starts pulling it out, and his wedding ring is on the end. So her husband didn't want to bring it out till the very, very last second. And it was so exciting for her to get that.
Yeah.
Um, and not say, "Well, my husband and I have a thing that we want to see." And another girl, I gave her a reading, and everything was great. And then I said, "Oh, by the way, he's smoking." She said, "That's what I was waiting for." She said, "I find empty Marlboro packages, boxes all over the street. I mean, every time I walk down the street, there's an empty red Marlboro, which is what he had." And I told him, I said, "Uncle, I know it's you doing this. Okay, give me a sign." And so at the very end, I said, "And he wants to, he's smoker, big smoker."
Okay, that is hilarious because literally yesterday, my husband goes in our backyard. We have a fenced in backyard and no one's back there, like no
Right.
one except for us. And my husband comes in with a pack of red Marlboros and he goes, "Who was here that was smoking?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like,
I
you
got
think it
goosebumps.
yeah.
Whoever it
Like our
is, knew
neighbors
exactly.
don't smoke. No, and he's just like, it was like laying in our yard. I'm like, that is so random. Like, where is that coming from? But maybe
That's
it,
synchronicity. This guy
yeah,
probably put it there.
yeah.
Uncle Louis. That is too.
That's
It's like,
so
come
funny. I
on.
don't believe in coincidences.
No, it's all synchronicity. That is hilarious. So does he have an uncle that smoked?
Oh yeah. Yeah, big smoker.
Did any of the, find out if any of them smoked Marlboros?
Okay.
Because,
Yeah, I'll
because
ask him. He's had a
they
lot of
all are
weird
connected
things,
up there. If he's got an
right?
uncle that used to smoke a Marlboro, that girl's uncle and him know what's
Yeah.
going on, and they're
Well, and then my husband today, he's like, I woke up at 3:33 and then again at 4:44 and it's January, so 1/1 and it's January 22nd, so 2/2. He's like 1/1 2 2 3 3 4 4. There's got to be something to that, right? And I'm like, "Well, were you thinking of something? Were you having a dream?" He's like,
no, go look it
"I
up.
don't
I
know."
wake up in the middle of the night and put 316. That's when I woke up. And put an angel number, 316 angel number. There was a message for me that made so much sense
Mm.
and made me feel good.
Yeah, I'll have to tell him to look it up because I was like, what were you thinking of when you woke up? We're trying to like figure it out, but he's like,
It's
that's just like
written.
really strange.
It's written. There's messages. If you get a song that your loved one loved, go look up the lyrics. There's a couple of phrases just for you
Mm. Oh,
that just
okay.
fit, that resonate. Look
Yeah.
everything up.
Yeah.
Look, if you find feathers, what kind of feather is it? Is it a peacock feather? There's a message, an angel, there's a reason.
Oh, I get feathers all the time. But not just, we live in Florida. There's so many birds here. So a lot of times I'll just sort of dismiss it, like whatever. It's just
Well,
like,
next time look up the kind of feather it is. If it's a
yeah.
pigeon feather, there's a there's a message in there. There's
Oh, I
something to
100%
smile
believe
at.
that.
And if you find coins, look at the date. I told somebody, start
Oh,
looking at the
okay.
date. And she said, I found a quarter that I didn't even know I had. It was under something. And I looked at it. It was my grandfather's year he passed. And we had been working with
Oh,
her grandfather in the session. So
gosh,
she goes, I'm
there's,
going to go look through my jar and see the other dates. So your birth date, year is, I'm sure, in there and the rest of your family.
yeah, I mean, there's so many ways in which these signs come through that you never would even think. So I'm going to investigate a little further when I get these signs. Like I never thought to look at the date on the coin and
I know. Some woman who I said it was going to be but another woman with butterflies. They love butterflies. Um, I said, so you haven't seen any butterflies? She goes, well, actually, there was some the other day, sort of following me around, but I just thought it was butterfly migration season. So she talked herself out of this thing with some cockamamie reason or mating season for butterflies, as opposed to that was her son just trying to say hello.
yeah, and see that goes back to what we were saying in the beginning with this filter that we have. And it's like as soon as we try to make sense of it logically, we're like blocking this, it's like a miracle coming through. It's a connection and
Exactly.
we have to open ourselves up to that.
I believe that if anybody has somebody who passed, to go and do a little research on what are the different signs that are easy for them to do, that you should be looking for, that you should be open to. Um, and what do you have to lose to believe?
Yeah.
I mean, so if there's a feather on your head that comes down when you walk out the door, what do you have to lose to say, I bet that's my mom because I was thinking about her this morning. Thanks,
Right.
mom.
Yeah.
They just want to be part of your life. They want you to remember them and keep them alive in your heart and in your family and tell your kids about your grandma was really a hoot, that they love even in reading Spirit, if you give them a compliment, especially the men, I said, he had a very good physique. I get chills. And once I got a thumbs up on the corner. I didn't even have that thing on the Zoom. They love.
They want to be acknowledged. They probably want you to acknowledge the signs too. Like I would
Absolutely.
think if I'm on the other side, I'd be like, "Hey, like say something. Didn't you know? Didn't you see that?"
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, wow. Well, with everything that's come through over the past few years, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to share with listeners that could be helpful, comforting, anything we didn't cover?
Yeah. Um, Laughter is one of the best healers because it raises your vibration. So joy, gratitude, and love, those feelings. If you want to open the pathway, because grief is like they have to get through muck. It's very hard for you to hear or feel them because it's hard for them to get through. When you meditate, and nobody likes to meditate, but it's really relaxing. And everyone says, I don't have time. I'm so busy all day. Well, you're not busy when you get into bed, okay? Well, unless you got a frisky husband. But if you're just laying down trying to fall asleep, you're already halfway there into like a theta state.
Mhm.
So put on some earphones, put on a YouTube meditation and I have some to connect with your loved one and just clear your mind. When your mind is clear, you can hear things. You're open to absorbing things. So do that. And as for laughter, that's all they want from us. They just want to make sure we're okay. They want us to be laughing and have joy. Laughter can stave off depression. It can lower your heart rate. It boosts your immune system,
Mhm.
helps with anxiety. It is so it is so beneficial. to laugh. So get the family together for a movie night, and play your son's favorite movie or play your husband's favorite movie and make it, don't play Schindler's List, but play Spy with Melissa McCarthy, which is just
Hmm.
hilarious. Um, and talk about him while you're watching it. This was his favorite part. He used to just crack up and bend over and go crazy at this part. They will be there. You make it do something that they loved, they will always, it's not like they're not there normally, but you will feel them. You will
Yeah.
know that they are there if you're doing you. If he loved hockey, go watch your other son's hockey game, and your son that passed will be there, okay,
Hmm.
cheering him on.
Yeah.
So the more joy you have, the easier it is for them to get through to you. So do it for them. You know what our
Yeah.
family, our parents would say, I'd give my left arm for my kid. They don't want our appendages. They just want you to be happy, okay? Be joyous.
It's
Think
so
of things,
true.
pivot, pivot.
Hmm.
The only thing that's stronger than grief is love in this
Hmm.
universe. So if you can try to work on pivoting that horrible, just tears you apart grief and just think for a second about how much joy you had when you saw his little face when he was born and things that he did or just all of that. It's just got
Yeah.
to think a little differently, but you have to go through all the stages of grief anyway. So just let it take you flow. Let it just flow.
Yeah.
But just
No, I love
remember,
that. Think of the things that they laughed at, they
exactly.
enjoyed, and you're connecting with them, you're keeping their memory alive, you're remembering all of the joy
It's
they brought into this
all
world.
about memories. You can't take anything with you. You don't need to,
Mhm.
okay? If you've got a choice of, God, I've always wanted a Ferrari, or I could spend the money and take everyone on a Disney cruise with the grandkids. Take the cruise. All you have is your memories when you go. And when they look at the memories or play them, it's like 1,000 times more intense. And when you get up there, you can have anything you want. You want a Ferrari, just like I Dream a Genie. You just manifest one, two, three, and you can drive around like the little Uber driver. So you can get whatever you want up there. There's nothing solid, but it's so 3D. It's just the same for them.
Oh, I love that. Make memories. That was top of mind at the beginning of, the year for 2026. I'm like, I am planning trips for the whole year now because
I love
otherwise
that.
I know I might not do it later because you just get caught up in things. And like we every, like quarter, we're gonna do something as a family and go explore something. And I think that's great
That's
advice.
your grandmother told you to do that. You didn't know that.
Mm, okay. Wow.
Somebody put that in your mind before I even said anything. So yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. Perfect. Thank you for that. And thank you for everything you shared. I mean, these stories, it's just so helpful, not just for, your clients that are grieving, but just for everyone to hear this and to know we can connect and there are signs we can look for. And I am sure there's going to be so many people that are reaching out to me after this saying, I got my sign or I saw this. So
I
I'll
want
keep you
that. Yes,
updated.
please let her know. And if you want any information on the afterlife, on mediumship, on any of this, there's a website and everything is free. It's like decades of a treasure trove of articles that Dr. Mark Pitzik wrote and old radio interviews with the pioneers in spirituality and documentaries and free ebooks that he wrote, which were
Hmm.
like bestsellers. He just wants to get the word out and
Okay.
share. And he also has a free class, live class twice a week that anybody can join. And everything is free. All you have to do is sign up for the newsletter, which is free. And you'll be on, once a month, you'll you'll know what's going on, and you can drop into a class and see what's going on and what he's talking about. He's amazing. And as I said,
Incredible.
it's one-stop resource, Soul Proof, SOULPROOF.com.
Okay, I'll put that in the show notes for
Put
sure.
that in
That's
the show
amazing that he
notes.
makes all that free.
All free.
And where can everyone find you if they want to connect with you?
Bannermedium.com, Banner Medium. And on my website, there's some links to my TikTok where I put little 15, 20-second little things that happen, crazy things that happen in a reading that are a lot of fun.
Oh, I love that.
And
I'll
that's
show my mom that too. She
on
loves
Instagram
that stuff.
and Facebook. Yeah, but TikTok and Instagram have everything really. And they're
Okay.
just short and hilarious.
Well, I'll link everything in the show notes so everyone can easily get there. And Barbara, thank you again. Thank you so much for coming on. This was so fun listening to all your stories, and you're welcome back anytime.
Well, I may take you up on that. Or if
All
you ever
right.
need me, you come and get me.
Sounds good. Well, thank
I
you
could even
everyone
do
for.
a group reading on your show,
Ooh,
do a
yeah, that would be
people with,
fun.
yeah. So,
Okay, well, we'll plan it. I'll hold you to it. We'll plan something.
okay.
All
All
right.
right.
Well,
Thank
everyone reach out as you get your signs. I want to hear about it. We'll let Barbara know. You can reach out to her directly. And thank you for tuning in, and we'll see everyone back here next time.